We are on page 19. Go to page 19 in your grammar book. Page 19. Here we go. Not too bad today. Kind of a shorter lesson, which is always kind of nice. Um, we are on 19 and we're talking about the that clause. We already know about the who which clause. Easy to find because it starts with who or which. Same with the that clause, easy to find. It will start with that every time. And it is a clause, which means it will have a subject verb pair. So just a reminder, the differences between clauses and phrases in English. Clauses have verbs, phrases do not. And you can think of like a prepositional phrase. They have prepositions and then it goes to a noun, but there's no verb in there. Clauses, however, do have verbs. Okay. So it's a group of word that begins with that and it contains a subject and verb. A that clause is a dependent clause, which means it must be added to a sentence that is already complete. Meaning you can take out the clause and it still makes sense. Okay. It's just giving more information. So look at this example. Robin knew that he could win the contest. It would be a very short sentence, but technically, Robin knew is a sentence. You have a subject, Robin, and the verb knew. That's what makes it a sentence. But this gives it more detail. And it says that he could win the contest. So obviously, that, by the way, you're going to label it with the word that. I know it seems kind of repetitive to do that, but that's how you label it. You know how you do who, which clauses have a W/W. These are going to have that. The subject is he, and the verbs are could win. Could is a helping verb next to the action verb win. So that is the clause there. There is a comma rule, and it's easy to remember because that clauses do not take commas. They just don't. So you don't have to worry about commas. Sometimes who, which clauses do. So that's where it's tricky, but that clauses, no comma. And then homophones. So this word homophone means homo means same. Phone means sound. So when you see that word homophone, think of same sound. Okay. Homo is same, phone is sound. So homophone is a word that sounds like another word, but it is spelled differently and has a different meaning. Correctly use the homophones two, and two. They're right there. You see how they're all different. They all mean different things, but they sound the same when you read it, two. To, is a preposition or is part of an infinitive. Here's the preposition example to Nottingham. They will travel to Nottingham. That's a preposition phrase. That's a prepositional phrase, actually, to Nottingham. To travel, though, is an infinitive because travel we know is a verb, but whenever you put to in front of it, it changes it. Now it's an infinitive. That's just the way it is. TWO is a number, like the number two. Two arrows, one, two arrows. Okay. TOO is an adverb, and that means also, or it can mean to an excessive degree. So traveled to, like my sister traveled to, that means also. But if you are too excited to go to Disneyland, I don't know why you would be too excited, but too excited meaning like overly excited to an excessive extent, like way excited. All right. You're going to place a line through the incorrect homophone because they're going to do this to you on purpose. They're going to put the wrong word and you have to find it, draw a line through it, and then put the correct one above it. So it says Robin was headed to Nottingham to, he brought his two straightest arrows. So since Robin was headed to Nottingham to, meaning also, we're going to change that to TO and change that one to TOO because it's also. He brought his two straightest arrows, so that's the number two. Any questions about that page? Okay, thank you. Shaking your head. Turn to 20. This is just to think about. This is kind of cool, but difficult. In English, this is the only language I know of where we have words that are the same words, but they have totally different meanings based on how it's used in the sentence. English is hard to learn. You guys were probably born, and then when you first learned how to speak, you spoke English, but some people speak a different language to start and they have to learn English. It's difficult. All right. The word light is light. It says many words can be used different in as different parts of speech. However, a word can perform only one part of speech at a time. For example, light, light, can be a noun, an adjective, or a verb. It depends on how it is in the sentence. The first example shows a noun, the light hurt my eyes. And I'm sure you have a little brother or sister, or even a big brother or sister or cousin. If you've ever gone camping and somebody's got the big flashlight and they think it's so funny to put it in, shine it in your eyes. My big brothers did that to me all the time. Like, stop it. So the light hurt my eyes. That's a noun. And then here it says the light rain was falling. So this is talking about the light rain. It's telling what kind of rain, like a sprinkle, like a gentle rain, light rain. Here, as a verb, the lamps light the room. So the noun is lamps and it's telling what the lamps are doing, which is lighting up the room, right? So the same word, light, in each of these sentences can be a different part of speech, but only one part of speech at a time. It can't be all of them at the same time. Okay, it just depends on how it is in the sentence. Any questions about this page? Nope. Shake your head no for me if you don't have any questions. Okay. Um, 21. Anybody feel like reading it today? Thank you, Grayson. Go for it.
Then Robin grew angry. No young man likes other men to taunt him about his prized possessions.
Nice job. Taunt, you probably know, it means like teasing or mocking someone, giving them a bad time. Taunt. So go ahead and put a check by vocabulary. And then we don't have any articles this time, but we do have some nouns. So Grace and Alex, do you see the nouns in here? Can you tell us what the nouns are?
Um, Robin?
Yes.
No, no, that's it. Man?
Yes. Good.
And then possessions?
Yeah, good. That is one. And there's one more.
The other men?
Yes. So this one's men. Good. So men with an E means more than one. Man with a is one man. So very good. And then we've got two, or actually just one pronoun. Grayson, do you know where that one pronoun is?
Oh man.
Remember what those are?
Fanboy? No.
No, that's coordinating conjunction. Think of words like he, him, they, them,
Oh yeah.
her.
Him.
Yeah, him. Good. And then adjectives, JC.
Grew?
Grew is actually going to be a verb. That's an action. We're looking for adjectives next. So words that describe the nouns.
His.
Yes, his is an adjective. Good.
Young.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Two.
Not two. How about in that first sentence, there's an adjective that describes Robin. Then Robin grew angry.
Then
No, it would be angry. That's describing him. Like, what kind of robin is it? It's an angry robin. Um, and then look at men. What kind of men? Like which one? It's before it.
other,
Yes, other. So now we have one, two, three, four. What kind of possessions are they?
prize,
Prize, good. What else are you missing? Let me see. Oh, this one's kind of hard. This one is which young man? There's another adjective here.
no,
The word no is actually an adjective, no young man. So now we have one, two, three, four, five, six. That's all of them. Good. That was kind of tricky. Lucy, what about do you know where the prepositional phrase is?
mm,
If you're not sure, we can come back to it because there's a way to find it. Because I have an
is
idea.
it then? Is it then?
Not then. Not then. You know what? Let's do verbs next. How about that? So what do you see any action words in here? Then Robin
Grew,
grew is a verb. And then no young man
likes,
likes is a verb. Good. So those are the two verbs, right? And now we need to find the subject. So Zach, who was it that grew angry?
Robin,
Good. And who's the subject for the next sentence? Who likes other men?
oh no,
Actually, it's going to be a noun. That's a tricky one. Actually, it's man. So it's the man
I said
like.
man.
Oh, I thought you said no. Sorry. You were right then. Man. No young man. Even though it sounds like it says, man likes other, it's no man likes other men to taunt. By the way, we need to fix this to taunt. It's the wrong two. Did you guys notice that? So Grace and Alex, how should we spell this to?
T-O.
T-O. And by the way, good job. By the way, next to taunt, that makes it an infinitive, to taunt. That's why taunt is not a verb here because it has to next to it. So now, Lucy, do you see the prepositional phrase? We know it's not then. We know it's not taunt. This is the last one left. This doesn't have a label on it. So this is where the phrase starts. So what's the whole phrase?
About his prized possessions.
There you go. You got it. And it always ends on a noun or a pronoun. So that's it. Underline about his prized possessions. So we did both of those. Capitals, you guys know. Go ahead and do those. The first part of the sentence. Oh, yeah. And Robin. End mark is a period. And then we already fixed the homophone. That was the word to. It was the wrong spelling of that word. It wasn't too bad. So, like I did earlier, if you get stuck on the prepositional phrases, skip it, finish the list, and then a lot of times you can tell from there what's left. Remember, it's going to start with something that doesn't have a label on it yet. So that's why about doesn't have anything on top of it. About his prized possessions. Okay. Any questions before we go on? Thank you, Grayson. I always like that he's like, I can see his head. He does not have any questions. Okay. Okay, next. Go ahead and get out your binders, and in your front pocket should be all the stuff you worked on this last week. Go ahead and get all that out. You guys worked on The eagle and the jackdaw. Now, because you're done with that, it was just a paragraph. Does anybody feel like reading the paragraph? You don't have to, but does anybody want to read their paragraph? You can. It's okay if you don't want to. I, as we get going in this class and the more you write there, and JC knows, there are some stories that like you really like. There's some stories that kind of like, whatever. But there's some stories that are like, okay, this is a good story, and you want to share it. That's good because sharing it is fun and you can, share what you worked on. So if you don't want to share yet, that's okay. But eventually I have a feeling you're going to want to start sharing what you're writing about. But we're done with that one with the eagle and the jackdaw. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to organize our binder a little bit. That was week 3. So hopefully you have an extra binder or folder to put away your finished stuff. So all the stuff that you have, like your keyword outline, the actual story, the eagle and the jackdaw. Hopefully you remembered to give this letter to your parent or grandparent, whoever's doing your schooling. Make sure you give that to them. This one, and then you have the Komodo dragon. We're going to skip that one actually. And your checklist. All the stuff you have for the eagle and the jackdaw, I want you to put away in whatever folder or binder you have separate. This year, we're keeping everything in a separate spot. So if you have a folder or a binder, put it away in that. And then you're going to go to the source text tab. And you're going to get out week 4. Remember this one? The source text tab is at the front. Go behind that and you should see week 4 there. Let me get mine ready so you can see it. It looks like this. Week 4, the miller, his son, and their donkey. And it should be 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Go ahead and get out week 4. When you see week 5, don't take that out. Leave that one in there, okay? So you're going to get out week 4. And you need a lined piece of paper. So, and of course, a pen or a pencil, whichever one you prefer at this point. And then give me a thumbs up when you're ready. So you're getting out week 4, a lined piece of paper and your pen or your pencil. I see that. Thank you. I see that. Okay. Got it, Grayson and Lucy? Okay. Week 4, the miller, his son, and their donkey. So we're going to look at the yellow page really quick first. We are going to move into the story sequence chart. JC knows about that because she's been in my class before, but the story sequence chart is now we're going to shift completely from looking at sentence by sentence in a story, and now we're going to look for chunks of information. And if you've ever seen a movie or read a book, which I'm sure everybody has in this group, you will notice there is a pattern to how stories are told. Here it is. The first paragraph or the first part of a story or a movie, they usually introduce the characters and setting. And this is when you answer the questions. Who is in the story? What are they like? When does it happen? And where do they live or go? These questions are usually what happens in the beginning. And that's what setting means, like where it takes place. So you're talking about the characters and setting. Usually in the middle of a story, for this one, it's the middle paragraph. we talk about a conflict or a problem. Every good story or every good movie has a problem. I don't know if you've ever realized that, but that's important to have. If it doesn't have a problem, it's boring, right? There's nothing going on. So what's the point? But there's usually a conflict or a problem. A conflict would be like a fight or a battle. A problem could be that somebody's lost or that they got hurt or something, either something's wrong. And you're answering these questions. What do they need or want? You're talking about the characters now. What do they think? What do they say and do? That's kind of what goes on in the middle of a story or a movie. The ending is how they resolve it, right? You got to have a problem and then you got to figure out how are they going to resolve it or how are they going to fix their problem. This is where we talk about the climax and the resolution. The climax is the part of the story where you don't know if the character is going to die or if he's going to defeat the bad guy. And this is where you answer the questions, how is the need resolved? And what happens after? And then what is the lesson or the message? I always talk about Kung Fu Panda because I really like the original Kung Fu Panda. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen the original Kung Fu Panda. Good. Okay. If not, that's okay. You'll still get the idea. Kung Fu Panda has a character. His name is Po. He's Panda, and he's clumsy. He's a little overweight, and he loves to eat. And he's just kind of a happy panda. He's kind of everybody's friend. He's kind of just a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. That's the character. The opening scene is Poe playing in his bedroom with action figures. He's like got these action figures that are the whole kung fu team, right? They're like the most talented, powerful team in China. And he's got these characters. Remember Tigress, and you remember the other guy. There's a monkey, and there's a praying mantis, and there's a bird of some kind. You guys know all those characters are a part of the story. The opening scene is introducing those characters. If you want to go back and watch that, even if you go to YouTube and type in, opening scene of the original Kung Fu Panda, you'll see what I mean. You're starting off telling who these characters are. And in the background of the movie, you see China. You can tell it's China because of the hats that they're wearing, and you can see the rooftops are the like Chinese architecture. You can tell it's China. It's cool how they introduce it like that. Then, of course, in that movie, there's a bad guy, and the bad guy wants to take control over the city, and he wants to be like in charge of everything and just be powerful. And the problem is they're battling this guy, and the whole kung fu team is like trying to fight him, but he keeps defeating them. And then Poe, I'm kind of giving you a summary, but eventually Poe figures out he has the most special and powerful talent or power of all of them, right? He has the wushu pinky hold or whatever they called it. I forget. But anyway, remember he goes skadoosh. Remember that part? And he puts down his pinky and then everything just goes like that. And then all the bad guys just fall over. He is the one that has the special power that's better than everybody else's power. So, and then that's how it's resolved, right? But the lesson we learn is that Poe, everybody thought he was goofy and he was like, he couldn't do kung fu and he just kept, you know, making mistakes and all that. But he actually is the one that had the power that they needed to defeat the bad guy. So basically, the lesson is don't judge a book by its cover. That's the saying. Don't judge a person by how they look or how they sound or what they say, because inside is what makes us, right? And we all have some kind of talent inside. Well, he discovers his. And that's the lesson we can learn is that we all have something to offer this world, right? If you don't know what your talent is yet, that's okay. You have time. You'll know as you get older. All right. So the next step we're going to do is build a chart. So go ahead and get your line paper out. We're going to set this up. You're going to put your name here as usual at the top or left side of the paper. The date is now 10/1, which means it is October. It's hard to believe already. fall is here, even though it's like hot outside. I'm ready for that cold weather to come back. There's the date. And then we're going to call this title. Look back on that. The miller, his son, and their donkey. It's a long title, so I'm going to start over here. You're going to skip a line. The miller, his son, and their donkey. And remember, just really quick, when you have a title, the first word is always capitalized. Beyond that, it's usually just the keywords. So that's why and is not capitalized. There is because it's telling whose donkey. So that's important. So the miller, his son, and their donkey, that's how you title it or capitalize it. Underneath that, I just want you to put story, sequence, chart. This is going to be a little different than the keyword outline. Some things are going to be the same, but some things are a little different. So we're like I said, we're moving into a different unit today. I'm going to show you how to set this up. So you're going to skip a line here and about the middle of your paper, maybe a little bit to the left, like right about here. I want you to draw a line down your paper, not all the way to the bottom, but about that long. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine's not perfect. So don't stress over this. Just try to draw a line down the middle-ish, a little to the left. And then on the right side of this line, I want you to start building this outline. So we're going to start with a Roman numeral 1 right here at the top on the right side. And then we're just going to do 1, 2, 3. Move over a little bit to put these regular numerals here, 1, 2, 3. So we have Roman numeral 1 against the line. Move over a little bit under that, 1, 2, 3. Skip. And then Roman numeral 2. 1, 2, 3 again. Skip. I'll slow down here in a second so you can catch up. Roman numeral 3. 1, 2, 3. So give me a thumbs up when you got that. Okay. Thank you. Good. Okay. And Grace and Alex, you got it? You have the light behind you, so I just see like a shadow of you. So put your thumb like to the side, and I think I can see it better. Yes. Okay. Got it. So this is going to be 3 paragraphs, but notice how short it is. We only have really 4 sentences for each. So this is going to be a pretty short summary of what we're going to read here. But the next step is to just finish setting up the chart right on top of the Roman numeral 1 on that blue line. You're basically going to trace that blue line as best you can all the way to the edge of your paper. And then do that on top of Roman numeral 2. And do that on top of Roman numeral 3. And then I always like to make it tidy. So wherever your line ends down here, even though there's a bunch of empty space, that's okay. Just kind of finish it off there, wherever that's at. All right, now we've got a chart. We've got 6 boxes here. This is how we're going to build this story sequence chart. And we just talked about this on the yellow page, but this first box, these are notes in the side here. I want you to write in characters slash setting, because that's going to remind us that when we start a story, that's what we start with. We introduce the characters in the setting. Where are they? Who are they? And a little bit about what's going on, a little background here. Underneath where you put characters and setting, I want you to write who with a question mark, where, and when. This is just a note for you to remember what we're going to put in our outline here. It has to address these things. Who, where, and when. Who relates to the characters, right? Where and when is more about the setting. And then in the middle, we already talked about this in the yellow page, it's going to be conflict slash problem. Every good story or book or movie has a problem or a conflict. That makes it entertaining. It makes it interesting. This is when I'm going to skip a line and put the question, what? So, what is the problem? What is the conflict? What does the character need? What is happening? You're explaining now in the middle the issues that they're having. Remember Kung Fu Panda, this bad guy comes along and says, I want to take over your city. I want to control everybody. And then the last box is going to have the word climax slash resolution. And I don't know why, but I always think of a mountain peak. JC probably remembers when we talk about climax. So in the margin over here outside of the box, I just want you to draw like a ridiculously pointy mountain. Okay. And then a little guy at the top of this mountain. That's what I think of when I think of climax, like the very peak of the story. So on this side of the mountain, just because I'm a visual learner, I don't know if anybody else in here is, but I like to have pictures that helps me out. I'm going to draw like these spikes down here. This side of the mountain is going to have this soft, cushiony cloud. And so this character is like teetering, like he's at the top, right? So if this guy goes this way, if he falls off over here, he's gonna die, right? I'll just put a little dead face there. Two X's for his eyes. Maybe I should make it more of a frown. If he goes this way, oh my goodness, he's gonna land on this great fluffy cloud and he's gonna be so happy. This is just a little visual for me at the climax of the story when Poe is battling this bad guy. Poe is getting beat up like really bad, like he's getting thrown across the whole city, crashing into stuff, and it's a cartoon, so he's okay. But you wonder if he's going to make it. That's the climax. How is he going to make it? And then suddenly Poe realizes he has the special power. It's like it's like, oh, and I think even the light comes down and he's like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm supposed to do. And then he lands on this side, right? He's saved. He like defeats the bad guy. It's a happy ending. That's what this means. It's like, is he going to live? Is he going to die? Is he going to win? Is he going to lose? So we're asking the question how here. How is this resolved? And then, of course, that word resolution is how it gets resolved. Any questions so far about this side of this? No questions? Shake your head no for me. Okay, good. Now we're going to read this story. So the next step is to read it. It's on page 41. It's an Aesop fable attributed to Aesop. So if any of you know his stories, or I say his, I think it's just the style. It might be somebody's name, but basically they're made up stories. They're fiction, and there usually are animals in the story. But the most important thing to remember is that you can learn a life lesson from the story. So it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. You've probably heard that one before, or like the lion and the mouse, those types of stories. So I'm going to read this and then think about the characters and setting, think about the conflict or the problem, think about how it's resolved. What is the climax and the resolution to the story? All right, you guys can just follow along on your page and I'll just read it so you can be thinking about those things at the same time. A poor miller, by the way, a miller this is an old story. Let me start by saying that. It's, you know, before, probably before electricity or cars or anything like that or computers. A miller is someone who grinds up um like grain into powder like flour. Okay. It's like at a mill, that's what they do. They grind it up into a powder or a flour. So this guy, um, that's his job. Okay. So a poor miller and his son were taking their donkey to town to sell him when they passed a group of women chatting by the side of the road. Why walk when you could ride? They asked the pair. So the old man helped his son mount the donkey, and he continued walking alongside. Then they met an old man who shouted, "Get down, boy, and let your old father rest his weary limbs." Upon this, the miller made his son dismount, and he got up on the donkey. Next, someone in a crowd called out, "Why, you lazy fellow, how can you ride while the lad there can hardly keep up?" Therefore, the miller immediately brought his son up with him. They had now almost reached the town, and a man commented on how they overloaded the animal, saying, "You might as well carry him as he carry both of you." So the miller and his son tied the donkey's legs together. With the help of a pole, they carried him on their shoulders, staggering over a bridge near the entrance to the town. This odd sight caused bystanders to laugh until the donkey, not liking the noise or the way he was being treated, broke the cords that bound him and fell into the river. I have to say, I don't really like this story because I am fond of donkeys. I will say that. I love donkeys. And, I would add to the story and say, and then the donkey swam to the shore and he lived happily ever after. That's how I would end it, right? Poor donkey. Come on. Okay. He's going to be okay, though. Remember, it's just a fable, not real. But poor donkey is all I got to say about that. All right. So, can anyone think of what kind of a life lesson can we learn from this? What can we learn from this? You think of something? I see you thinking. So they have a mission, they have a plan, they're going to town to sell this donkey. All these people they come across, and every single one of them are giving advice. They're getting nosy. They're kind of getting into their business, right? I don't know if you've had anybody in your life, like a friend or someone, like tell you you shouldn't do that, or you should do that, or you need to stop doing that, or you need to start doing this. I mean, I'm not talking like parents, that's separate. I'm talking about like peers or friends. Sometimes friends get in your business, right? So to me, the lesson is that some advice is not always the best, right? I can tell you though, because I'm a parent, your parents' advice is the best. So always listen to your parents. They do know, they understand, they're older than you, they've been through life. Listen to their advice. I'm talking about like friends that are your age. Sometimes they'll tell you to do something that may not be the best advice. That's what's happening here. They're telling him, "No, you get on the donkey. No, you get on the donkey. You get down from the donkey. Now you both get on the donkey." And then they're like, "Now you've overloaded the donkey. So you should carry the donkey." I don't know why these guys didn't really think that through. They're like, "Okay, let's tie up the donkey and put the donkey on a pole and then we'll carry the donkey." It's like, come on, people. Really? You got to use your noggin. Think through some of the stuff, okay? Don't just don't just believe everything you hear. That's the lesson, okay? That's the lesson. So, anyway, That's what we can take away. So let's go back to our chart, the story sequence chart. Now we're going to start building this because what you're going to end up doing this week is rewriting this story in your own words using this chart. So first, let's see. How about Grace and Alex? Who's the first character we hear about in this story? And you can look back on the story to help you. You guys can pick this out too.
The Miller,
The Miller. And who's with the Miller?
his son,
His son. And they also have an animal. Who do they have with them?
their donkey.
Their donkey. All right. So let's talk about the Miller and the son first. So let's say Miller and son. And before we bring in the donkey, we need to talk about like where they are. So remember, these are the questions we're focusing on: who, where, and when. So Grayson, I'm just going to call Grayson since that's what's on your Zoom call. And then the other Grayson will be Grayson Alex, since that's on his Zoom call. So Grayson, where are they headed at the beginning of the story in that first sentence?
They're headed into town.
To town. So I'm just going to draw an arrow and then put town. And let me just remind you of the rules here. They are the same as the stories, as the keyword outline. You can have 3 words and you can use symbols, abbreviations, and numbers for free, but you can only have 3 words. So we've got Miller, son, and then an arrow representing they're going to town. Okay. And then we have the donkey, right? I think Alex or Grace and Alex mentioned that. So JC, what are they doing with the donkey? What is their plan with the donkey in the beginning?
They're planning on selling him.
They're planning on selling him, right? Poor donkey. I wish I was there to buy the donkey. I'd be like, I'll buy him. I love donkeys. They're so cute. I don't know if you've ever met one, like a real one, but they have a lot of personality. I think, people think that donkeys are dumb, but they're actually pretty smart. Should look into that. Anybody have a donkey? No? No donkeys. Okay. Someday I will. Someday I'm going to have all you guys to my farm because I have goats and chickens and I have a pony and a cow and I'm just missing donkeys. Donkeys and pigs. Okay, back to this. I got to focus. Okay. Uh, the donkey comes in and they are wanting to sell him at the town. So I'm going to put donkey, sell. I can't think of another word we need there, so we could just leave it donkey and sell for now. But this is when they're on their way, right? They're walking. And that's when the first group they come to is this group of women. It starts off right at the beginning. This group of women are now suddenly getting involved and they're saying, why walk when you can ride? So we can put women and they're saying, why walk? So what we're doing is looking at this story piece by piece. This story is going to be pretty straightforward because it's in the same order as your story sequence chart. Sometimes stories kind of jump around. This one's going to go straight through. So it'll be a little easy to determine. These, let's see. These women are being bossy and opinionated, and they're telling them what to do. So I kind of like that word opinionated. Does it have 2 P's? I'm trying to remember now. No, it doesn't. 1 P. Opinionated. And they're telling, this time I'm going to use an M plus S. That's going to be, what I'm going to do too is circle M in my title and S. So I can remember that M is for Miller, S is for son. Now I can use those as symbols and I don't have to keep wasting my words on those. and they're giving them some advice. I'm going to put advice. Advice about life. Now, basically what we're doing, let me remind you too, we're taking notes here. Obviously, we're not going sentence by sentence anymore. We're looking at who's there, and obviously there's more characters. We're going to talk about them in the next chunk here. But we already introduced the main ones, the miller, the son, and the donkey. Those are the main characters. And then we have the word town. That's where they are. We don't really address when. Sometimes the story doesn't really say when. So that one's kind of optional there, but definitely who and where. We need to address those two things. And they're going to keep going now. And then the problem really starts becoming clear because now there's another group of women that say, oh, let's see, let me look at my notes here. Oh, I know. Okay, they're giving them their opinion. Why walk? They're opinionated and they're telling them advice about life. And so the miller, that's the M, lets his son up on the donkey. That's the first part, right? The old man helped his son. Oh, sorry. No, it was the son that mounted the donkey. I'm looking right here. So the old man helped his son mount the donkey and he continued walking alongside. So sorry, this should be the son. S. That's why we need S and M to help us keep track of everybody. S mounted the donkey and the miller walked alongside. Then there was an old man that said, "The boy, get down and let your father rest his bones." So the old man is next. I'm going to just do this one kind of for you so you can see how this works. Okay. So just kind of watch what I'm doing and listen to how I'm deciding this. There's an old man that's telling the father, I'm putting the father in quotes here. You should let the father ride. Remember, that's what they're saying. Like, why are you letting the son ride? The father should ride. Sounds like the father's old and the son is young. And so the son comes down from the donkey and the miller goes on the donkey. That's my symbol. The son comes down from the donkey and now the miller gets up on the donkey. So we started with the son was there. Then another old man was like, "Why are you riding? You should let your father ride." And then so he's like, okay. The son comes down off the donkey and now the miller goes up on the donkey. Then they're going along, looking back at this. "Why, you lazy fellow, how can you ride while the lad there can hardly keep up?" If any of you have any younger brothers and sisters, they don't walk as fast as everybody else. You've probably noticed that. And it's like, come on, keep up. Let's go. We're trying to go, especially if you're at Disneyland or somewhere where you're trying to get on a ride, right? It's like, come on. Um, so this is the crowd. So the crowd comes in, crowd, and tells the miller or the father to let the poor boy, I'm just gonna put poor boy, like poor boy or poor lad, he can't even keep up with you. I put poor boy, even though it said lad in there. The crowd is saying the poor boy. Squeeze an exclamation mark in there. So then he brought his son up with him, right? That's the next part. So now we have the son is on the donkey and the miller is on the donkey. That's my symbol. They're both on the donkey. They're both up on the donkey, okay? So now we've got a bigger problem. The problem is developing. Part of the problem is they've got people giving them advice that they don't really want, but they're listening to them. And then the bigger problem now is they've got both people on this donkey, and the donkey's overloaded now. So now we've got a problem with the donkey, overloaded, and tired. Do you guys know about sarcasm? You probably do, huh? You know what sarcasm is? Have you ever heard that before? Kind of, sort of. Sarcasm is when uh, they're exaggerating about something. Like, okay, if you're really hungry, you could say, I can eat the whole pizza. Let's say it's an extra large pizza. I can eat the whole thing. Obviously, you can't literally eat the whole thing, but you're so hungry, you feel like you could. It's a little bit of sarcasm. That's happening here. They don't really mean you should tie up the donkey's feet and carry it on a pole. That would be cruel. They don't really mean that. That's sarcasm. Okay. But these guys took it literally. Okay. Yeah, let's tie up a donkey. By the way, donkeys, they don't like to be handled like that. You can handle a pig or a cow or a sheep, a lamb, a goat. I know these things. I'm actually a farmer, so those kinds of animals, you can tie up their feet if you needed to, but not a donkey. They would kick you till they knock you out. You don't want to try to tie a donkey's feet, but somehow they did in the story. But anyway, so they're sarcastic. I'm going to use this term sarcastic, and I'm drawing a stick figure because these guys, these are sarcastic people that are now telling him, you carry D. I'm going to use D with a circle for donkey. By the way, I'll circle it up here. So that's a little key for me at the top is the M, S, and D. Now we've got the D here. So sarcastic people are saying, you carry the donkey. Now look, I only still have 3 words, sarcastic, you, and carry, but I've got these symbols so that I don't have to count those. So we're good there. So then they tie up the poor donkey. This is part I don't like. Put him on a pole. And then I'm going to use the word hoist, meaning they're lifting this on their shoulder, I'm guessing, because they're carrying him like between them on this pole on their shoulder. Okay, they're hoisting him up. Looking at that last paragraph, and Zach, I'm going to ask you, look at that last paragraph. This is when they got him on the pole, they're carrying him. What happens next after they got him up on this pole?
So do you want me to tell you what to write?
Or just tell me what happens next, and then we'll figure out what to write after you tell us.
All right. They carried him on their shoulders, staggering over, right? Staggering
Yeah.
over the bridge near the entrance of the town.
Yes, good. So they're carrying him. They come to this bridge, and they're crossing this bridge and keep going. What happens after they get to this bridge as they're crossing?
This odd sight caused bystanders to laugh until the donkey, not liking the noise or the way he was being treated, broke the cords that bound him and fell into the river.
Okay, good. So now we can kind of break that down into keywords here. I know we have that word bridge because that's where they come to this bridge. And this is where they're laughing. So I'm just going to put laugh. And then something happens to the donkey. And I'm going to put a D here. Whoa, that's a D. Um, if you know horses or any animal, equine animal, horses, mules, donkeys, they get spooked pretty easily. So, and I think that's what's happening here is this poor donkey's like, what's happening? I'm already tied up. He's already spooked by that. And then there's people laughing and being loud next to him. So I'm going to put the word spooked here. That works for donkeys. Even though that word spooked is not in the story, these are my notes. So that's what I want you to see here is that we're just basically taking notes on the progress of this story here. And then, like you said, Zach, it breaks, his cords break, and then he falls into the river. And the story kind of abruptly ends right there. Suddenly, it's like, that's it. He fell, he's in the river. Done. The end. All right. That is how we build these story sequence charts. We start at the top, we focus on those characters in the setting, then we get into the problem, make sure we address that in the middle, and then how it's resolved. Sadly, this isn't a happy ending. So even though the problem is solved, like the donkey is released, it's kind of a sad ending. It's not a happy ending, but it's solved because now the donkey is freed. So now your job this week is going to be to rewrite these paragraphs. You're going to put away the original and you're going to use each one of these as a sentence. So notice if you have a Roman numeral and then 3 underneath it, that's 4 sentences total. So really, these paragraphs are short. They're only going to be 4 sentences. And you're going to use these notes here to write each one of these paragraphs. It's 3 paragraphs long. And I want you to look really quick at the checklist. This is page 43. It's basically the same thing as you had last time for the other thing that you wrote last week. The only difference is they've added here story follows story sequence chart. That's the chart we just did. Make sure you follow through each one of those parts of the story. And then look at your dress up words. You have ly adverb and who which clause. It says underline one of each. Now you can have more than one in your paragraphs, but you only need to underline one. You have to have at least one ly adverb and one who which clause in each paragraph. And they gave you these little check boxes. That's why it's called a checklist. So you can actually check the box after you put it in your paragraph. So you know it's there. And you're going to underline those, one of each. Any questions about the checklist or the homework? Any questions for me before you guys go? So your grammar is the next 3 pages as usual. And then, like I said, you're going to write the story, the 3 paragraphs. Make sure you check everything off. I don't want you to just go check, 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 check. I want you to go, did I put my name and date? Yes, I did. Okay, check. Did I double space? Yes, check. So I want you to make sure you do it and then check it off. Okay. All right. That's it for today, you guys. Awesome. See you next week. Have a good one. Bye. Have a good week.